From outside the world. From Anywhere Stories, Moral and Otherwise. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Recorded by Eliza Horn. Anywhere Stories, Moral and Otherwise, by Lucy Lane Clifford. From Outside the World. She wandered about in the sunshine all the day long, over the fields and in the woods, picking the flowers and listening to the birds, and singing strange songs to the river. Suddenly she sat down on a big stone and looked up at the mountain that was just a little too tall for the world, and had to hide its head in the clouds. "I should like to climb that mountain," she thought. "I want to know what there is on the other side." And the more she thought about it, the more did she long to climb. At last she jumped up and washed her feet in a little stream of clear water, and set off as fast as she could for the top of the mountain. It was a long way up, but she sang all the time, and amused herself by wondering if any had ever been lost on the great hills around her, the hills that stretched away and away as far as she could see, and if so, whether there had been wives and children watching for them at home, watching and waiting and weeping, and listening for footsteps that would never come over the heather again, for the sound of a voice that would never speak to them more. "If I could only feel," she sighed. "If I could only understand, oh, I would give the world to know what it is like." She went slowly down the other side of the mountain. At its foot there was a little town. It was just a very little town, with one street running down the middle of it, and a town hall in the market-place, and a clock on the town hall that had lost its long hand, so it pointed to the hours with its short one, and never troubled itself about the minutes. There were not many people in the town, but they all knew one another, and talked about one another, and nobody ever minded his own business, but always some other body's. She stood at one end of the street, and looked at the schoolhouse and the toll bar in the distance, and she walked to the other end and looked at the meadows, and at the old barn, and the farmhouse, which was the last dwelling place she could see. "It is just the same here as everywhere else, I suppose," she said to herself. "The people laugh and cry, and love and hate, and play that queer game of theirs, which consists of one person gaining as much money as he can, and the rest getting as much of it away from him as they can, and the end is always the same. The man dies and is forgotten, and the next man goes on. I wonder what it all means." She sat down by the wayside and rested. She watched the people in the streets, but no one noticed her. She saw two men pass by. She heard one say to the other, "It is a fair price. That field is not worth more." And she said to herself, "It's the same old story. They're talking about money." A man and a woman passed, the woman saying as she did so, "And I'm not going to do it for less, I can tell her." And again the girl said to herself, "The old story. It is money forever, money, money forever." She got up and walked a little way, wondering if there were any children in the town. The children would be interesting, she thought. The old people were the world of yesterday, and the grown people were the world of today, but the children would be the world of tomorrow. A tomorrow that for ever was on its way, for ever held a promise. There was life in the very word, since only dead men ceased to think of it and to plan for it. There is some clue to life I have missed. There is something I am longing for but cannot grasp. I am forever feeling as if I ought to be paying myself as in a tribute to some great whole which I cannot see because of the darkness before me," she thought. "Who are you, girl?" a voice asked suddenly. She looked up and saw a farmer beside her. I have come from a cottage over the mountain, the girl answered.
What have you come for?
Just to see and to think, she answered.
It is a waste of time,
he said gruffly, and turned away.
Will you have a cup of milk?
he asked suddenly.
For maybe you're tired. Go to the house yonder and say I sent you.
And he pointed to the farmhouse. She was hungry and thirsty, and glad to do as she was told. Why do you offer me milk? she asked. I am a stranger.
Strangers feel thirsty as well as friends,
he answered. The girl went to the farmhouse, and when the goodwife saw her she made her sit down, and fetched some fresh milk and homemade bread, and bade her rest well before she went on her way. I never gave anyone 1 cup of milk or a welcome into my cottage in my whole life, the girl thought. There is some meaning in the world I have not found yet, but it seems a little nearer as I sit and watch the farmer's wife. Then she rose, and coldly thanking her, went on. I will go through the town now, she said to herself. A boy was sitting on the gate at the end of the field. He was gaily dressed. From his cap there hung a gold tassel, and on his finger he wore a ring. The girl stopped and looked at him. Where do you live? she asked. I live in the great house up there, he answered, nodding in the direction of the hill. You can see the flags waving from the tower. You must be rich, she said, for your house is very grand. How did you get all your money? My ancestors won it hundreds of years ago, he answered proudly. They were great men. And are you great? she asked. I am great, for I am rich, he answered. And so you have time to think, she said eagerly. Tell me, do you know all things? No, he said. I never trouble about them. I'm content to live and enjoy my riches. I cannot understand it, she sighed. Men are content to work for those they will never see, and to heap up money purchases for fools to spend. Money doesn't make you great, she said scornfully to the boy. Any booby can inherit. She went down the street and looked at the faces of the people. On all of them there seemed to be written some history of past days, some record of joy and sorrow, but most of sorrow. I am very thankful, she thought, that I shall never know the things they know. I remember once overhearing some poet or dreamer say that in every heart there is a death chamber. There is none in mine. I have no heart to hold one. The town people were looking out at their doors, laughing and making merry when any two met. She wondered what it was all about, till suddenly she saw a bridal party go by. I see now, she said to herself. These are two people going to marry. They are rejoicing because they will be together henceforth. One will know when the other sorrows, and one will sit and watch at last by the other's dead face. Why do they rejoice? Oh, I shall never understand it all. She turned out of the street and went towards the fields again. A boy was loitering on his way from school, and farther on there sat a man by an easel, on which stood an untouched canvas. The boy looked at the girl. What do you learn at school? she asked. All kinds of things, he answered. I am very happy while I am learning, he added, and after the lessons come the games. What shall you do when you are a man? she asked. I shall go on with the making of the world, he said, and began to sing. Why do you want to do that? We all die soon. It was made for us.